Want to buy some real estate in a town that doesn't suck? Me too. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to The World According to Briggs. Let's take a look at something we haven't done in a while. The worst towns in the United States. We did this video back in 2017, and I figure it's time for an update. Things have changed. Some towns have gotten better, some decent towns have gotten worse, and Alaska is slowly becoming the new Mississippi. Shockingly, Mississippi didn't make the list this year. If we would have done 25, they would have had the 23rd, 21st spot, and the 13th spot. Cities are slowly falling out of fashion, and more people are looking outside the cities and the suburbs to build their life and buy their homes and whatever they want to do. I mean, honestly, if you don't have to, why would you live in bumper-to-bumper traffic, worry about your safety both in and outside the house, or watch your Ring doorbell cam while somebody steals your Amazon? These are things nobody really needs in their life. Today we're looking at towns you shouldn't move to because they're horrible. It's that simple. And just to save the comments, let me explain what is considered a town and a city in the US according to the US Census and pretty much most people. A city's population has over 100,000 people. Large towns have a population between 50,000 and 99,000. Medium towns have a population between 25,000 and 49,000. Small towns have a population of 7,500 to 24,000. Village and small communities are less than 7,500 residents. Now, I know that goes against what most people think. Everyone assumes that a town maybe has 1,000 people. No, it doesn't matter if they call themselves a city. If they are below that population, technically they're a town. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, Selma, Alabama. Selma, Alabama is a historical city, especially when you start looking at the civil rights movement. They're also losing population because the town is horrible these days. In 2010, they had almost 22,000 residents, and in 2020, they had just under 18,000 residents. Selma, Alabama had been gaining population since its creation up until the 1970 census. 1960 was the last year they gained. 1970, they started losing. Now, in 2000, they actually gained 1%, but then they went back to losing population. I think it's also worth noting that California, North Carolina, Indiana, Iowa, Oregon, and Virginia all have Selmas, and they all suck. Here's an idea. Don't name anything else other than a goldfish, Selma. Selma, Alabama has a crime rate that's 61% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 97% above the national average. They're not knocking it out of the park with wages, and their poverty is pretty high. Their per capita income is $15,288. The average for Alabama is $24,736. Comparison to the rest of the United States, which states are different, so you got to kind of compare a city to a state, not the national average, because cost of livings differ and all that other stuff. But the average income per capita in the United States is $29,829 currently. So in Selma, Alabama, they're averaging about half the national average. Number 9, Americus, Georgia. Americus is a town in Georgia of around 15,000 residents, about an hour southeast of Columbus, Georgia, and about a generation away from being a great place to live. Affordable housing is great. Cheap housing isn't always great. That's a theory I have. When it's too cheap, you're safe to assume that there's a reason for that, and most of the time it's because the locals know the place and don't want to live there and have moved away. Americus is the poster child for that theory. Most of the homes for sale right now in Americus are under $100,000, with, I'd say, majority of them being under $90,000. Americus has some great history and a lot of crime. Their crime rate here is 168% above the national average, and their violent crime rate is 188% above the national average. Now, their poverty is kind of a big thing here. Their income per capita is $15,837. Like we said earlier, the national average is about $29,829, so roughly this is pretty close to half. But when you compare it to Georgia, they look a little bit better because Georgia's average income per capita is $26,678. Now, one thing I will say about this place is it's starting to look like there's a little bit of revitalization going on, so I'm not sure how much longer Americus will be on a list like this. They might be turning it around, but we'll see. 10 years, 20 years, something like that. Number 8, Globe, Arizona. Globe, Arizona sits about an hour and a half east of Phoenix, Arizona. And if you're a snowbird thinking about, maybe Arizona's the place for you, it might be. Globe isn't, but the rest of Arizona just might be. Globe isn't too far away from a small town called Miami. Don't let it fool you. It's nothing like the other Miami. Miami, Florida is filled with good-looking people on the beach. Miami, Arizona is filled with A lot of people that don't floss. But Globe is in the Arizona outback in the hills east of Phoenix. I saw a video where a guy was talking about the crime rate in the area, and the dude being interviewed said that the crime was so high because of the open borders, and people are coming across the border to commit crimes in Globe. The interviewer guy says, "We're 3 hours away from the border," and the guy looks at him puzzled and goes, "Really? It seems closer." But the crime rate in Globe is 254% higher than the national average. Buckle up for this one. Their violent crime is 393% higher than the national average. Their income per capita is $21,528. The Arizona average is $26,686. So that's not the worst on this list. The good news is there's not much to do up there, so you don't have a lot of opportunity to spend what little money you make. Number 7, Bishopville, South Carolina. Bishopville sits about an hour east of Columbia, South Carolina, and about 30 minutes west of Darlington in case you're into NASCAR. Head out to Darlington and watch a race. If you do, don't forget your Confederate flag t-shirt. That's required outerwear in this part of South Carolina, along with a trucker cap that says something to the effect of, "Pull my finger." Bishopville is a nice little town that has a lot of potential. It's also got a lot of poverty and a lot of crime. Their crime rate is 201% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 247% above the national average. When it comes to the income per capita, in Bishopville it sits at $13,422, which compared to South Carolina's average, which is $25,521. So Bishopville, they're less than half the national average of $29,829. That's pretty bad. The good news is it's dirt cheap to live here and housing's very inexpensive. Number 6, Lake City, South Carolina. Yes, we're staying in South Carolina for another gem of the South. Lake City is a town of almost 6,400 residents. That's losing population. Now, they've only had 2 censuses in their history where they lost population, so that kind of tells me it hasn't always been in bad shape. Normally, when you see a town that has a sliding population for like 4 censuses in a row, is a census a word? Census. Anyway, moving on. When you see them slide like that decade after decade, you know the place has sucked for a very long time. Lake City really seems kind of new to the whole places to avoid type list. Right now they have a crime rate that's 157% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 345% above the national average. Their income per capita, it's not great, $17,910. Just like we said earlier, the South Carolina average is $25,521. So they're not doing great. The good news is they sit about an hour northwest of Myrtle Beach, so they've got something to do when they're really depressed about how much money they make. Number 5, Barstow, California. Have you ever heard the phrase, "When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade"? Well, if you have to move to Barstow, it's more like when life gives you lemons in Barstow, they're probably toxic, so you should drop them and move someplace else. Barstow's been a wart on the backside of California since it was founded, and I'm sure when the paperwork came through to turn this place into a town or whatever, it came across some state official's desk. The first words out of his mouth or her mouth was, "Why?" Barstow sits about 2 hours east of Los Angeles and about 2 hours west of Las Vegas, and it's usually the place you stop and pee when you're driving to Las Vegas. Normally when you do that, you go to one of the 2 Del Tacos they got there at McDonald's. Don't try and pee in Denny's without being a customer. They got a lock on the door, at least they used to. Barstow does have a Wiener Schnitzel, so it's not all bad. Barstow's really not a good place to move to, really. It's kind of like Denny's. You never plan on going to Denny's, you just end up there when you're inebriated. Barstow's the same way. Barstow also has a crime rate that's 122% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 285% higher than the national average. The income per capita here, now keep in mind this is California, things are more expensive, so this money really sucks. Their average income per capita is $16,897. That's not good. California's average is $31,458. So they're almost half of California's average. If you ever look at pictures of someone's backyard and Barstow, it's often confused with the surface of Mars, so keep that in mind. Number 4, Bastrop, Louisiana. Bastrop sits about 2 hours east of Shreveport in between Despair and Regret. This is a great place to be from, as in past tense. Nobody should live here unless they enjoy fishing and crime scene photography. This isn't a great place to live, but it does have a Popeye, so you know it's legit. The population of Bastrop is about 10,000 residents, which is down from 12,000 in the last census. So they don't have a lot of people, but they do have a lot of crime and poverty. The crime rate here is 290% above the national average. average, their violent crime rate is 386% above the national average. When it comes to their income per capita, they're making a whopping $12,926 a year on average. Louisiana average is $25,515. The poverty level here is actually 178% higher than the national average. That's not good. Number 3, Salem, New Jersey. Look at that. New Jersey made the list. It didn't include anything about the Sopranos, toxic waste dumps, or high taxes. Those are 3 things New Jersey is known for. Salem is about 30 minutes south of Wilmington, Delaware, across the Delaware River, and about an hour and 20 minutes northwest of Atlantic City. It's also only 35 minutes away from the Palliser Depression. Yeah, it's a real place. Here it is. Look, Salem has been losing population since the 1950 census, when they peaked at 9,000. You know things aren't great when you realize you peaked before Elvis started making music. Yeah, Salem's seen better days. Now, one thing I do like is they have a lot of really cool old brick buildings. Most have bars on the windows, but that should be expected when you see the crime rate. The crime rate here is 132% higher than the national average. Their violent crime rate is 431% above the national average. Now, here's where it gets really ugly. The income per capita here is $18,626. That's the average. The New Jersey average is $37,538. Yeah, that's brutal. And New Jersey is above the national average, and they kind of have to be because New Jersey is expensive and they have extremely high taxes. I love New Jersey's thing. It's like, we kind of suck, but we're going to charge you like we don't. I've said that before, and it's very true about New Jersey. Number 2, Benton Harbor, Michigan. I know a lot of you are thinking that Michigan has gone over their quota for places that suck. I mean, you have a lot of places in Michigan that truly do suck. Detroit, Flint, and now Benton Harbor. What's really bad about Benton Harbor, it's really close to some really nice places. Benton Harbor just is horrible. Benton Harbor sits on Lake Michigan, about an hour and 45 minutes away from Chicago, which is about 98 miles, probably 70 if you're a good swimmer. It also sits about 45 minutes north of South Bend, Indiana. You can go down there and watch the Fighting Irish play. Benton Harbor is one of those places in Michigan, and really it's happened in a lot of these Rust Belt states where they have so many abandoned homes that they've actually just mowed them down. Saves people from vandalizing them, and in Detroit's case, a lot of people were just setting them on fire and homeless were moving into them. So a lot of these towns have just chosen to mow them down. They bulldoze these homes that have been abandoned over the years. Benton Harbor has a lot of those. They even got a bunch still that are just boarded up, and they haven't got around to mowing them down yet. It's really sad. I kind of, I know I make fun of these places and stuff like that, but the history and the loss of manufacturing jobs in this part of the country is just really depressing. And it's something that, I don't know what you could do. I'm not an economist or anything like that, but it just seems like there should be serious efforts to bring back our auto industry at whatever they can do. It just seems very important to this country. I mean, it's still here to a degree, just not like it once was. Benton Harbor has a crime rate that's 171% higher than the national average. And buckle up for this one, their violent crime rate is 723% above the national average. That is freaking brutal. Their income per capita is $10,980. How do you survive on that? I don't mean to laugh, but Michigan's average is $27,549. Wow. That's just rough. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There's a link down below. Also, as far as this channel goes, please make sure you guys give it a thumbs up. That helps support the channel, and I'd really appreciate it. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Nome, Alaska. There's an old joke that says, I told him to kiss me where the sun doesn't shine, so he drove me to Nome, Alaska. You can't drive to Nome, Alaska. It's next to impossible. This one is so far up there, it's one of those towns where night lasts like 6 months. Yeah, it's that high up there in Alaska. Nome sits on the Bering Sea. It's about an hour and a half flight from Anchorage. You can't drive anywhere from here. I mean, there is a road that goes up to Teller, Alaska, but why would you want to drive there? There's nothing there. I can't imagine why anyone would want to live in Nome, Alaska. I mean, do you like just snow all the time? And maybe you're into dog sled racing or something. The Iditarod ends here. When you see the stats on here, you really start to think, why would someone live here? Now, this is the absolute worst I've ever seen for a violent crime rate. So here we go. Their overall crime rate is 158% above the national average. Their violent crime rate is 984% above the national average. What are they playing, the Hunger Games here? This is alarming. Since the 1920 census, they've only had one census where they lost population. That was in 1980 when they went from 2,357 to 2,301. Yeah, but they've gained population ever since. Now, I get it. If you're an Inuit person and this is your culture or your people's land, I get why you'd live there, why you'd want to live there. But why anyone else would, it's beyond me. They got to be paying pretty good. But from what I can see, they aren't, unless they don't add up the people working in town for some kind of, I don't know what they do there, oil, minerals, or whatever. But their income per capita here is $29,558. That's pretty good if you're living in Mississippi, not if you're living in Alaska, where everything's very expensive. The average income per capita for Alaska is $34,191. That's, yes, above the national average, but it is expensive to live in Alaska, especially this far up. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, stay away from these towns, be nice to each other.